Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Switcheroo Brokerpreneur podcast. I'm talking on Matt's talking on mine.
Microphone.
We're talking about microphones.
Yep.
Matt, I'm here. I'm Dr. Ben Spears, Ambassador of Flow. I'm here with the big guy as usual. Matt Vi. How's it going, Matt?
I'm doing absolutely great. Fantastic. Wonderful. Incredible.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Yep.
You know, I went outside. I was like, oh, you're just going to take a deep breath.
A dead breath?
No, a deep breath.
I got you.
Fresh air. And as soon as I do, the thunder starts rolling in.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, come on, man. I should have stayed inside. My bad.
Yep. You brought the rain to Florida.
Exactly. We're going to talk a little bit about failure today. Is that right? Tell us specifically what we're talking about.
Yeah, how to thrive with it, man. How to thrive with it.
How to thrive with failure?
Right.
Hey, I like it.
Yep.
Guys, if you like it and you like this podcast, then hit that follow button or that subscribe button wherever you're watching it right now or listening to it.
Bing.
And go check out brokerpreneurpodcast.com and see all the cool things that Matt and I have. Take a sneak peek at the Brokerpreneur Fast Track, and also register for this Friday's Brokerpreneur
Not so
secret society. There's so many things, man. I gotta keep up with them. Not so secret society. It's an absolutely free class that Matt and I teach live with brokers and brokerpreneurs from across the country. And we just love getting on there, talking to you guys, answering your questions, just learning a little bit more about your
Got
brokerage.
people popping in and out. We love it.
Yeah. You don't have to stay the whole time. You know, hop in 5 minutes, say hello, and see what the topic's all about. Then you go that thing.
Yeah, throw some input in there.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Well, guys, thriving with failure.
Yep.
Right. So I'm just gonna like sit back, put my hands behind my head, and just say, Matt, man, what are you talking about?
Yeah. So why would we talk about this right now? Market shifting, right? And
Yep.
a lot of people, what's going on? There's a little bit of fear floating in the water, and part of the reason why the fear is floating in the water is because people don't know what they're going to do in the market. We've talked a lot about that, right? Have strategies for a changing market. We've discussed that a lot, but whenever you step back and you say, okay, why am I really worried about this? Right? There's the uncertainty and all that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is if you think that failing going through this market is what is going to hold you back from succeeding later, that's what's terrifying, right?
You know it.
If you think that I go in this market and I do the right or the wrong thing and I'm going to be out of business, I have to do exactly the right thing in order for me to win. That's what's making a lot of people, a lot of brokers, afraid.
Yeah.
They see consolidation in the big companies, right? They see a lot of other small offices. It's already starting to happen. A lot of other small offices are closing the doors, right? They're being acquired by other people, or they're just getting out of the business, or they're whatever they're doing. So all of a sudden that fear starts knocking, and then it's trying to get in. And the big picture is, you heard tons of people say this. People a lot smarter than me. People a lot more articulate than me. You'll learn more from your failures if you allow yourself than from your successes. And typically, the culmination of failures is what allows people to succeed.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what we're going to spend a few minutes talking about today.
Yeah, I love it. Well, one thing about failure is it causes us to grow. You use the saying all the time. You're like a tree. You're either growing or you're dying.
Right.
And terrifies me. Every time you say it terrifies me, I go grab a book. And I'm like, physically, I stopped growing like a long time ago, like 7th grade. So I'm like, I better go grab a book.
Well, then I got some news for you, brother.
Yeah, I better go grab a book. I don't know if it'll make me taller, but maybe it'll help me.
Maybe it'll stop the dying.
Yeah, grow the mindset.
Yep.
So, let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So go back and think about school, or think about, sports that you've played in, or go back and think about, if you're an artist, something that you painted that just to begin with just didn't go the way it was supposed to.
Yeah.
Right. And you look at it, there's things, whenever I was a lot younger, I drew, right? I can't tell you how many times I crumpled up a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason I say this about failure is, my ability to do what I can do now, whether it's real estate or drawing or anything along that line, is all based on those baby steps that I took along the way. Man, I wish I would have known and thought about it the right way then. Because at that point I was like, oh man, that doesn't look the way I want. It's not translating from my brain to my hand. It's not translating from my eyes to my brain to my hand. If I was looking at something, And so I looked at it like a failure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And think about how much better I would have been if I would have said, okay, that didn't work out the way I wanted. What part of this didn't work out the way I want? How can I change that so that it can be different just when I was drawing something, let alone when I have a coaching conversation with an agent.
Yeah.
Now fortunately, I did a lot of the drawing when I was younger, and I did the real estate coaching when I was older.
Right.
Right. And so a lot of the real estate coaching also, a lot of the things that I learned and how to deal and how to interact with people were from me teaching karate. Right.
Yeah.
And I taught karate, everything from, real small kids, 4, 5, 6-year-olds, which my wife loved that class. I'll have to tell the story about one of her kids saving the grandmother's life one day. It's an incredible story. But,
Oh, sounds like it.
yeah. But we taught really small kids all the way up through, the oldest person that, he wasn't my student, but that I worked with him all the time is, we called him Doc, right?
Yeah.
But he was 84 the last time I saw him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he was still in there doing it, man. He was in there making it happen. So there's every range of life. So I had the experience of being able to fail forward with those people.
Yeah.
So I got to see a lot of them fail because they were testing, every 3 months for the most part. And when they didn't achieve, man, I didn't achieve. And so me being able to look at them and say, okay, you didn't get to this level because certain things didn't happen the way that they needed to. And that actually brings up another lesson I'll talk about in just a second. But you didn't get to this level and you didn't do well on test because I didn't help you get to a certain point.
Yeah.
That's me being able to learn from failure twice.
Oh, yeah. That's
Me
a great
being
point.
able to learn from theirs, being able to see it and observe it and understand it, but then me also being able to learn from mine. I saw it. I understood it a certain way. And now I know better, but I was failing along with them. So one of the, I don't remember, how far in this was, but I had a really fast growing karate school. Okay.
Yep.
And so, we had a really fast schedule. We opened up in a new town, all that kind of stuff. I was the one that started from ground up there. And to begin with is a little bit of a slow start. Mm-hmm. And then I just got a system to what I was doing.
Of course.
Right. Okay. Same old story. And I had a test that was probably a year and a half, 2 years in, maybe something like that. And up until that point, my test had always went really well. Whenever you have a test, a bunch of masters come in, grandmasters come in, all that kind of stuff. Everybody's, walking around, everybody's scared, scared to death, right? Everybody's walking on eggshells. Kids are all terrified. Parents are, asking me on the side, hey, I know we didn't come to all of the practice. Are we still going to make it today? All that kind of stuff, right? So everybody's full on panic. But man, my people always look good at test.
Oh yeah.
They were just right. I mean, they were just right there. Right. And I remember, a year and a half, couple years in, something like that, I had the largest growth spurt that I had.
Oh yeah.
Right. And I don't know how many people I signed on over a 3-month period, but it was a lot.
Yeah.
I remember one day I had 19 private lessons on a Saturday, and
wow.
they're 30 minutes each.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, and
on a Saturday.
On a Saturday, they were back to back, right? So and again, conversion rate was really good. All that kind of stuff, very similar to real estate. Okay, so I had a ton of growth. We looked like shit at test.
Oh really?
Oh, it was so bad. And the worst part was, I really didn't know. I mean, I knew, and I was happy with the growth and all that kind of stuff. And then they're going through and test, and it was the only time ever, first and last.
Yeah.
that at test I was looking at people, and I was looking at parents, and I was looking at masters that are there observing and judging, and I was embarrassed.
Yeah.
And man, that is just not a place that I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I was never there again. Now I achieved a ridiculous level of growth. Okay.
Yeah.
And I had times that were much better than that from a growth standpoint, but we never showed up to test like that again.
Yeah.
And what it boiled down to was, one, I failed, right? Which is part of what we're talking about today, right?
Yep.
And I just don't deal well with failure. Okay.
Right. But thank goodness you did.
Absolutely. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I'm positive now that as productive as I made my real estate offices and as productive as I helped other people make their real estate offices, it was because I helped them understand that balance that I learned there that day.
Yeah.
And so if I was a real estate broker, the way to probably point this out would be, imagine that if you had 120 over a 4-hour period, 120 of your agents walk in, and 70% of them screwed up their real estate transaction, and the whole town was standing there looking at your brokerage.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent of that. That's how I felt. That's how I felt right then, right? And so that, that to me, I was never ever going to sacrifice growth for individual productivity again. Okay.
Yeah.
Now that was karate. That was a very long time ago. But that was karate. But that lesson stuck with me. I was like, there's no way that we're going through this again. So what I learned how to do is one was delegate. Okay.
Yeah.
So I learned how to do some things different than they did before. And the leadership that I had, Grandmaster Pock, was just, he's an incredible guy. And after test, I was, we went to that test, and then we went to another test after that, and so we get done at 9 or 10 o'clock at night and everything, and I'm apologizing to him, like I'm like, man, this is embarrassing for me, this is embarrassing for you, all that kind of stuff. And his response to it all was, he didn't say it exactly like this, but this was the gist of it. You paid too much attention to the thing that we told you to pay a lot of attention to.
Yeah, the growth, the business aspect
Absolutely.
of it.
Yeah, they were like, hey, you need to grow. I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do.
You know what that is?
What's that?
That's him learning from their failure,
yeah,
your failure, and his failure.
Right. And so he had probably run into that again. I don't know that before that point that somebody had taken it quite like I took it. Okay.
Yeah.
And because that was not, to me, that was not a, I didn't see any win in that. At that
for
point,
sure.
Right. And so
I know you well.
Yeah. And so so he was, whenever we had that conversation and everything after that point, I just focused a tremendous amount on the parts that I was good at, and I let other people help with the parts that I wasn't good at. And it's not that other people at that point didn't want to help. That's a critical piece here.
For sure.
Okay. So it's not that other people didn't say, hey, Matt, do you need some help on 19 appointments on a Saturday? They were. And what was I saying? No, I got this.
I got it.
Yeah, I got this. Right. And so whenever it comes to,
Sounds familiar, right, guys?
Absolutely. So whenever it comes to, and this is not, guys, this is not a sales pitch. Okay. But I need you to hear this if you're listening to this in podcast land right now.
Yeah.
If you are a real estate broker and you're doing all those things yourself and you're wearing all of those hats, and you see Ben and I sitting here saying we want to help, don't have a test that fails the way that I had a test cycle that fails. Okay. Don't do that. There are people that honestly want to help, that are very good at it, that are going to allow you to win at a whole different level. And that way you can take away from that failure that I had without it costing you the money that it will in this upcoming market.
Yeah. And we are two of those people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's not a sales pitch. That's a roundhouse kick to the face.
Okay.
Right. So you know how I roll, Matt.
I do know how you roll.
Yeah. So, all right. So you talked about change, just a second ago, and that's going to lead us into our next topic. You also brought up, you also said, in your karate school, you had the largest growth spurt. Mm-hmm. Why you got to be bringing that up, man? Right, just because I ain't never had no growth spurt.
He did at some point.
Every podcast, he's like, let me tell you about this growth spurt I had. Like, save me one. So, talking about change, your brain will change.
Absolutely.
Right?
Speaking of growth spurts.
Yeah, so it's not just your business will change.
Right.
And your brain will change, and that's not an exaggeration.
So, Ben, talk to us about neuroplasticity. How about that?
So, please, everyone, grab your pipes and your smoking jackets and sit down. Let us discuss neuroplasticity. No, I ain't doing that, Matt. Come on.
It's your brain's ability to be able to create new neural pathways.
Yep,
right?
Absolutely. New synapses.
New synapses. That's exactly right. And so.
Hey guys, this episode of the Brokerpreneur podcast is brought to you by the Speculo Group. The Speculo Group is the turnkey solution for agent and brokerage lead generation. With a focus on generating the highest quality leads from platforms like Google, YouTube, Facebook, and more, the Speculo Group is your one-stop shop to dominating your local market and beyond. Visit their website for more information at thespeculogroup.com.
So the bottom line here is that when you go through something that you don't feel or have not went through, or your brain is being forced into an uncomfortable position with things that you like, stress as one, and also whenever you learn, as you learn, it connects different parts of your brain, different sectors of your brain, right? And that's where neuroplasticity comes in, right?
Yep.
And the ability for you to be able to continue growing new neural pathways. When you fail, it's something you haven't been through, so it's forcing your brain to expand those neural pathways.
Yes.
Right? And so that is from a scientific standpoint why failure helps. Okay.
Yeah.
But now let's talk about your brain from a standpoint of just what from a very conscious way of looking at it instead of a non-conscious way of looking at it. Man, whenever I failed at that test, right?
Yeah.
Or I see something happen, I'm trying to put a tire in a car and I can't get the lug nut off or whatever it is, right? How many times have you tried to do something and nothing worked the way that it was supposed to? You're trying to open a bottle, or you're trying to get a tire out from underneath the back of your car, or you're trying to
pull out in third gear,
or whatever it is, right? You're doing all of those things. After that happens, automatically your brain says, you know what? That's not going to happen again.
Yeah.
We've got this figured out. That's not going to happen again. And so there's a conscious part of your brain that says, oh, I got this, right? I got this figured out.
Yep.
But there's a non-conscious part of your brain that says, hey, let's fix this. Let's tie this together so that we don't ever have to run into this again.
Yep.
So that conscious part of your brain, though, is the one that if you're not careful with your mindset, that's the one that allows that fear to creep in. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me give you an example. My son just bought a car. Speaking of third gear, right?
Yep.
So in the part of Tampa Clearwater that we live in, there's a main thoroughfare that's just stupid busy.
Yeah.
Right?
Crazy busy. Tons of stoplights,
all that kind of stuff. And so there's a lot of side roads that pull onto it. It's 8 lanes.
Yep.
Okay. And in places it's 10 lanes, and but it's 8 lanes, and there's this one road that my son works off of this side road, and you have to pull onto it, and there's a stoplight, and you wait at this stoplight for maybe 5 minutes because the main road is just super busy.
Yeah.
And so he gets a new car and he gets a stick shift, right?
Yeah.
He's 22, he's never driven a stick shift before, okay? And so his second or third day, he's in line waiting to turn off of one of these side roads onto the main road, right?
Yeah.
And he stalls out through 3 stoplights.
Yeah.
He's there 15 minutes basically.
Yeah.
And there's cars behind him and around him and honking and all that kind of stuff and everything. And he's just, right? He's beside himself.
Of course.
Now my son is laid back can be. Okay.
Just like you.
Right. and so he said, he was telling me about this. And I said, you stalled out 3 times? And he said, no, I stalled out through the light 3 times. And I said, Stu, what was going on? And to begin with, he didn't know, right? But exactly what you just said about third gear.
Yep.
I think he was in third gear. And after we talked about it, he was in third gear. And so what he did is he was kind of panicking, right? And the longer he was there, the more fear that built up, the more whatever, all that kind of stuff. And so the day after that or something, maybe 2 days after that, I'm like, have you stalled out? He was like, nope. I said, you had any more problems? I said, you going back to work down in Nebraska in 19? And he goes, yeah. And I said, you stall out through there? He goes, nope. He just had to get through that failure.
Yeah.
He just had to fail forward. And 2 things happened. His mind was built differently.
Yeah.
And his mindset was built differently.
Yeah.
Going into this real estate market, what mindset are you carrying with you with the failures you've had before this? Please, oh please, oh please, do not allow them, do not drag them along in a negative way.
Yeah.
Because all it's going to do is have you stall out 58 times through that stoplight.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly like my family. When my in-laws are here, we go to their house. During the winter, every Friday, and we work a jigsaw puzzle.
Right.
We just sit around the table and we work a jigsaw puzzle. And, there will be times, when you're working a puzzle and you're just like, man, I just can't find that piece. It's not here. It's missing. Everybody starts making the excuses. Then all of a sudden, one person walks up who's not working it. Uh-huh. They're like, I found one. And it's like that one puzzle.
Right.
It's and that's that same thing. That's your mind just getting in this it's not here. There's something wrong. There's a problem. There's an obstacle. But someone comes along with an open mind, or maybe they're just really good at working puzzles. Who knows?
Right.
They've had a stick shift for years.
Right.
And it's like, no big deal. You're in third gear, man.
Right. There you go.
So yeah, absolutely. And I love that story. right? Like, with Stu, it puts so much into perspective, everything that we look at, throughout the day, because, we all have different skill sets. Sometimes our skill sets, they usually revolve around our strengths, right? Because it's what we like to do,
right?
But from those skill sets, they don't always lead directly to success, right? And through failure, we can learn which skills,
absolutely,
led us to our success once we've achieved it.
Right.
So let's talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah. So the most expensive thing an entrepreneur can have is a closed mind.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And
so if you open your mind up, like you were just talking about, you open your mind up and you see that the failure is a success, because it's not stopping you. Right. Yep. And all of that, you end up in a point where, not only can you help yourself better, but you're going to be able to help other people. You're going to be able to help the clients you're working with and all that kind of stuff, right? And the reason why is because you start learning, you learned skills that allowed you to get through that failure.
Yeah.
Okay. So the best way that you're going to be able to grow, let's use this as like a just like a positive, like a positive and negative numbers, right?
Okay, sure.
Okay, easiest way to do it. Let's say that positive numbers are good things happening and negative numbers are bad things happening.
So it's not golf.
So it's not golf.
Okay,
right?
gotcha.
Yeah,
it's not everything golf else in the world
except for golf, right? Except for golf. So the if you've succeeded a lot in things, okay, and all you have is a bunch of positive numbers, everything going exactly the way that it's supposed to go. Yeah, man, it just seems like everything fell in line and you're winning at a high level and everything. But those negative ones are the ones that allow you to combine those two numbers together to be able to pick the number that you want to get to. Okay.
Yeah.
So if all I'm doing is succeeding and I add 2 and 2 and 2, that's 6, right?
Yeah.
But let's say that for whatever reason I'm trying to get to a 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have to be able to put some negative numbers in there in order to get to the number that I'm actually trying to achieve.
Absolutely.
So as you start combining those things together, it allows you to not just add things up and succeed and win, but it allows you to be intentional with what you want to win at.
Yeah.
And so as we learn to take the negative experiences we have and couple them with the positive experiences and the negative things that have happened that have forced us to have better skills on the positive side of things, that's how we end up in a place that mentally we're being intentional about creating exactly what we want.
Yeah.
And so what does that have to do with recruiting, right? So if all I've done is hired people, I've never had an issue not hiring somebody. Okay.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden some, $50 million producer comes in, right? And I don't hire them. I'm thinking, wait a minute, am I not good enough because I couldn't hire them? What happened here? Am I slipping? Did this fall apart? Whatever. Or you might say, well, who cares about them? They're no good, right?
Yeah.
That person just isn't a fit.
Yeah. Just close up.
Just right. So at that point, you have to be able to say, what is it that I did in that appointment that who cares if I did it wrong? Okay.
Yep.
What did I do in that appointment was really good that I always do?
Yep.
And what did I do in that appointment that didn't work the way it was supposed to? Even if you don't want that person, I'm not saying you want every person, but you have an interview with somebody and you're like, man, I really crushed it on this. I did really fantastic on that. Man, I said this and that really rolled off the tongue easy. But that might be this part right here might be where I lost them.
Yeah.
Why would I lose that type of producer at that place? That failure allows you to look at that.
Yeah.
If all you're doing is winning, why look at it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's no need, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a famous quote. It was by an athlete. I can't remember who it was. It's almost undoubtedly a golfer. Right. So it's only like 3 or 4 that probably would ever be quoted. And he said, I never learned anything from winning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never learned anything from winning. And, I use that quote a lot because, it's hard to win in golf. My son's obviously a golfer. And so therefore he doesn't win all the time.
Right.
And I was like, listen, man, like this is part of it, right? This is part of this. This is a part of the game, but it's even more part of life.
Right.
And I would leave, our brokerpreneurs out there listening, with, if you're trying to grow your brokerage, obviously you're listening to this, you are, if somebody comes in and they're like, yeah, I really like your brokerage. And you find out the next day, they went somewhere else or something like that. Gosh, tell yourself, man, I never learned anything from winning.
Right.
and it's only a loss, a true loss,
if you don't learn from it.
if you don't learn from it.
Right.
But if you sit down and you say, I wonder what it was, or even reach out and you have that conversation, or you have a survey after, that goes out to every single interviewee that asks a few questions. If you can collect that information and really use it to then get better. Right. If you 3-putt every hole, right, or if you miss all your free throws, right. What did Shaq do when they were fouling him on purpose? Right. He spent the next 2 weeks doing nothing but shooting free throws. Right. That's exactly what we need to do when it comes to growing our brokerages.
Completely agree.
Any final thoughts, Matt, before we wrap this thing up? Put a
Great topic.
Shaquille O'Neal bow on it.
Right. There you go. That's a big bow.
Yeah, no one's ever said that.
No.
I'm the first person to ever say that, I think.
Probably so.
Well, guys, if you're listening to this on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Deezer, any of those platforms, hit that follow button. If you're watching this on YouTube, what's up? Hit that red subscribe button, that bell right beside it. You get notified every time we drop a new episode. It's no better time than the present than to go to brokerpreneurpodcast.com and check out all the cool things that Matt and I have to help you grow your brokers no matter what phase or stage of the business that you are in. Guys, we absolutely love doing these, and we know that you're learning from your wins, your losses, your successes, and your failures, because the same reason we do this podcast. For one reason and one reason alone. Tell them why that is, Matt.
Because we just want to be part of your win.
That's right.